안녕하세요. 미국주식으로 은퇴하기 미주은입니다. 이제 그 마지막을 향해 다가가고 있는 2020년의 가을의 끝자락입니다. 이번 주말 의미 있는 시간 만들어 가시길 바라고요. 제가 있는 이곳은 우기인데도 불구하고 비가 한동안 내리지 않아서요. 지금 엄청나게 더운 날씨네요. 우리 아이들은요, 엄마랑 수영장에 운동하러 가고요. 저는 혼자 이렇게 남아서 미주은 영상을 만들고 있는 어떻게 보면 굉장히 평화로운 토요일 오후입니다. 오늘 방송의 내용은요, 지난 두 번 방송에 걸쳐서 보내드렸던 캐시우드 그리고 아크 인베스트에 관한 영상 내용하고 이어지는 줄거리를 가지고 있습니다. 혹시 이 두 가지 영상을 아직 시청하지 않으신 분들은요, 오늘 방송 보시고 꼭 한번 이 두 영상 확인해 보셨으면 합니다. 그러면 오늘 보시는 영상의 재미가 배가 될 수 있을 것 같고요. 캐시우드 인터뷰 영상 말미 부분에 Catch Me If You Want를 보시면요, 일단 배드 아이디어 보고서 분석 영상은 제가 이미 보내드렸고요. 이제 여러분들과 저는 글로벌 경제를 뒤바꿔 놓을 25개의 기업, 그리고 차세대 빵이라고 불리울 만한 그런 기업들을 찾아내는데 우리의 역량을 집중해야 할 것 같습니다. 오늘 보내드릴 방송은요, 미주은 채널에서 준비한 두 번째 인터뷰 영상인데요. 지난번에 데이브 리와의 인터뷰 영상을 여러분들이 너무 많은 관심과 찬사를 보내주셔서요. 오늘 두 번째 준비하고 있는 주식 유튜버와의 인터뷰 영상은 제가 조금은 부담을 가지고 열심히 만들어 봤습니다. 오늘 인터뷰의 주인공은요, Best of Us Investors라는 미국 주식 투자 전문 유튜버 채널을 운영하고 계신 캐리 그링크마이어입니다. 예전에 파이낸셜 어드바이저로 활동하시다가 이제 은퇴하신 지 15년이 넘으신 고령의 유튜버 분이신데요. 여기 밑에 보실 수 있는 것처럼 지금까지 업로딩하신 영상의 개수가요, 무려 590개나 됩니다. 그리고 지난 30일 동안 방송 횟수는요, 무려 40회입니다. 정말 대단하신 분이죠. 저도 캐리 선생님의 방송을 다 지켜보지는 못했지만 이번에 방송에는 한 가지 반복되는 줄거리가 있습니다. 바로 세상을 바꾸는 기업에 투자하라인데요. 그래서 오늘 방송의 제목은요, 왕년의 최고 주식 전문가가 알려주는 세상을 바꾸는 기업 7+1로 정해봤습니다. 그럼 미국 주식 베테랑 전문가가 알려주는 이 세상을 바꿀 기업 8곳을 찾는 오늘의 방송 바로 시작합니다. Hi, Kerry.
Hello, Charles. How are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm doing quite well. Thank you.
So, Kerry, it is great to have you here with my channel. It is called 미주은, 미국주식으로 은퇴하기. Just in case you are wondering what's the meaning of the name of the channel, it means let's retire from the investment in the U.S. stock market.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So you've targeted it.
Yes, actually, most of the audience I have, my subscribers are targeting to retire within 10 years, 15 years time with some returns from investment in the US market. In Korea, there are many new investors because until last year, not many Korean people were interested in investing in the US stock market. This is one of the new trends happening in Korea. During the coronavirus, many people stayed at home, realized that it could be an opportunity because the stock market collapsed. Many people jump into the US market. Now there's a huge number of the people who are already in the market or who are planning to join the US market in the future.
I'm a retired financial advisor. I built one of the largest financial planning practices within the American Express. They have roughly 10,000 advisors in the United States. And in the last 3 years that I was with them, ending in 2005, I was always in the top 3 out of 10,000. Wow. And I did that basically by speaking to people in the same way that I try to speak to them in my YouTube channel. The stock market to me is pretty simple, and I have been able, since I've retired, to consistently get over a 33% return on my investment. I believe that the market is driven by events, and those events are initiated by change. As things change, the value of assets change accordingly. To give you an example, and my favorite stocks are what I call the big six. I stole that name from Amy Webb. She wrote the book The Big Nine, and she basically explains that IBM, Alibaba, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, Google, Tencent, Apple, and Baidu own most of the data of the world, because they very quickly got into social media, e-commerce, and they started gathering the data. That was a major change in the way we lived. Prior to the 1990s, there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as social media. I kind of laugh at Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook and in his college dorm and in Harvard University, and he only had it open to the students of Harvard, and then he expanded, and you had to have a URL that ended in edu to access it. And it was basically a dating channel. And he had no idea how he was going to monetize it. And now that man is the second wealthiest man in the world, only to be beat by a guy by the name of Jeff, who he and his wife moved to Seattle on Pine Street and moved into a garage and decided they were going to build a website to sell books. And I actually have a member in my tribe. We call the people who view my channel a tribe, who wrote me and said, yeah, I was walking my dog on Pine Street in 1994, and this guy by the name of Jeff was walking his dog, and I asked him what he did, and he says, well, I'm building what they call a website to sell books. And he said, I thought Jeff was kind of goofy because I could buy books right down at the street. But I know now, if I had given Jeff $10,000, that would be worth $20 million today. And so I question my tribe. If you met another Jeff Bezos, would you recognize him? Would you understand the concept, and would you give him $10,000 of your hard money to invest? Well, the answer to the question is unanimously no, unless you had foresight, unless you actually saw that this thing he called the internet was going to change the world you lived in. So my whole investment philosophy is to seek out companies that are going to change the way I live. Amazon has changed the way I live. I seldom go to Target or Walmart or any place. I buy everything I buy through Amazon. I communicate with my family through Facebook. I only search on Google. I just yesterday drove to Atlanta, Georgia, and did a test drive in a Tesla.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
How was it?
Charles, it blew my mind. I'm a 76-year-old man, and I was as giddy as a 10-year-old girl, having met Snow White at Disneyland. I was sweating like a pig because of the excitement of driving down the highway. First of all, I put my foot to the floor. That sucker went to 120 miles an hour, just like that. I put it on auto drive, and I took my hands off the steering wheel, and it was programmed to get off the highway and take an exit ramp and go to a stoplight. And I sat there like this, and it did it. It did it. And Charles, I own about $75,000 worth of Tesla stock.
You do?
Yeah. I came home. I told my wife, she was sitting in the back seat. Yeah. And I told her, I'm going to buy another $75,000 worth of Tesla, but it's going to be sitting in my garage. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So So my whole investment philosophy is to open a window as to what the world is going to look like tomorrow, and then invest in those companies that are going to make that change. I own basically 7 companies. I've added an 8th, and I'll get to that later. And they are companies that are going to change the way I live. They're the 6. I haven't invested in China because I spent a month in China. I love the country. I love the people, but I don't know that I trust the government. I don't know that when they give me an annual report that all the numbers are right. And that has scared me. But I own Microsoft. I own Apple. I own Facebook, Amazon, Google. I don't own IBM because I don't think IBM has an identity. I no longer own Netflix, but I own Tesla and I own Square. I think all of them are driven by data. I believe that in the near future with 5G, that data will make many decisions for me that I'm not qualified to make. My avatar will be able to do that. I was explaining to some people today that I'm not qualified to determine what kind of toothpaste I should be using. I'm not, because I don't know what's in that toothpaste. But somewhere in the cloud they do. I know that Amazon just made a deal with Orbit toothbrushes that they're going to put 5G sensors in the toothbrush, my electric toothbrush, so they can analyze my teeth and they can send that information into the cloud. And then my avatar in the cloud can come and tell me what kind of toothpaste I should be using. And that's how my world's going to work. I'm not going to have to make those decisions. And so I want to own stock in the companies that are going to change the way I live. Tesla's going to do that because I'm going to buy one of their cars. You and I and all of your viewers have one wish: that we live, that our loved ones live, and our children live. And sometime next year, the world will come together and they will say, this can never happen again. And I need to, as an investor, I need to know that. And once I know that and recognize that, I have an advantage over every other investor in the world because I know what's going to happen. Right now, in Stanford University and in Harvard University, they are working on a smart toilet.
Smart toilet.
Smart toilet. What is a smart, you know what a smartphone is? What is a smart toilet? When I poop through 5G, my poop will be analyzed. Well, don't laugh because it's going to happen. They're working on it at Harvard. When I pee, my pee will be analyzed. When I brush my teeth, my saliva will be analyzed. When I stand naked in front of a mirror, my body will be analyzed. All that information will be pushed to the cloud. Within a matter of seconds, my phone will light up and it will say one of 4 things. Carrie, you're good to go. You can go on an airplane. You can get on a cruise ship. You can go into a restaurant. You can go anywhere you want to go. Or it will say, Carrie, you need to change your diet and you will be healthier. Or it will say, Carrie, go lay down. We've notified the ambulance. It will be there to get you shortly. That's the world I'm going to live in within the next 5 years because it has to be. That's the only way we can assure you that you don't get my virus. Now, is that absurd? Well, I would ask you, do you remember 9/11?
Yes, I do.
What happened after 9/11? The world got together and said, this can never happen again. And as a result, I can't go to the airport without being scanned, without presenting my identity that says my background has been checked and I'm not a terrorist. Do you remember shortly after 9/11, there were people who got on the planes with bombs in their underwear and bombs in their shoes? That has never happened again. The same thing is going to happen here. The same thing is going to happen. And you and I, as investors, have to ask ourselves the question, who's going to facilitate this? Well, Tim Cook told us that in January. And Tim Cook spoke to Jim Cramer. I hope you might know who Jim Cramer is.
Course. Yeah.
Okay.
The host of the show. Yeah.
In January, this was before the pandemic, Tim Cook said, Jim, you go forward 25 years and turn around and look back, and what you remember Apple for will not be the phone. It will be health. It will be the impact we have on the health of the people in the world. Well, what was he talking about? He was talking about his smartwatch. He was talking about smart clothing. He was talking about the smart toilet. He was talking about the smart mirror. That's what's going to happen. So as an investor, I don't have to go find the next genius. I just need to invest in the people who are going to change the world I'm going to live in. Are you familiar with genome therapy?
Yes.
And basically what genome therapy is we are all born with a genome. Some of the genomes got a little out of whack, okay? And so in my family, because of our breeding, we have a propensity for cancer. My mother died of cancer. My daughter died of cancer. My father died of cancer. I have now prostate cancer. So our gene is out of whack. To get your genome sequenced in 2000 cost $100 million. Wow, $100 million. Today it costs $400. There is one company that makes 90% of the genome sequencing equipment. Okay? One company makes 90%. They sell that machine for $335,000. As you use it to sequence genome, you pay $20 per gigabit, I think is what they call it. So they make another 400. So their business model says, we'll sell you this machine, and then every time you use it, we collect money as well. That sounds like a pretty good company, doesn't it? Okay. So now, and this is the same company that sequenced the genome of the coronavirus. So does that sound like a company I might want to own? Does that sound like a company that is going to change the medical world from one of, how can we help you, to one who says, let us look at your newborn child and find out where the propensity for disease is and what we can do to restructure their gene? That's CRISPR. So if I'm an investor and I look at what just happened, the pandemic, that the world is going to sit down and say, we can't allow this to ever happen again. Is what I just described to you comparable to the invention of the internet? Comparable to the invention of social media? Comparable to the invention of e-commerce? Could this company become even larger than Apple? Because now they are in a position to provide you and I with the most important thing in our life. Lifespan. So as an investor, all I got to do is identify these companies. I've already identified Google, Apple, Amazon, because the company that I'm talking about is called Illumina, ILLUMNA. It's a business-to-business company. But somebody has to deliver this information through my phone. And who's that going to be? It's going to be Google. It's going to be Apple. It's going to be Amazon, because Amazon's going to make my house a smart house, okay, through 5G. If Amazon doesn't do it, Apple's got Siri. They'll do it. If Amazon and Apple don't convince me, Facebook's got that same thing. So why the hell would I invest in anything else? The future is faster than you think. This is a book that I read about a year ago, and it gave me this vision of what the world's going to look like. I know that I'm going to be driving a driverless car. I know that I won't go to the Super Bowl. I'll put on a pair of Mark Zuckerberg's Oculus goggles and I'll play in the Super Bowl. So, Charles, to me, it's so simple. To invest in the stock market is not to find a penny stock that it's going to go turn into a $10 stock. It's about understanding the world you live in. All you have to do is figure out who's going to change the way you live and recognize the most important thing you own is right there. And if you can keep focused on that whoever gives you this and makes your life better and healthier, they're going to get filthy rich. And if you become a part of them, and then that goes, even Tesla. I drove in that Tesla car and I came away I drive a BMW, one awfully good automobile. But as I drove it home, I recognized as I was moving from lane to lane, I had to look over my shoulder. I had to see if there was anybody in my blind spot. In that Tesla, I didn't have to. I looked at the dashboard and I could see them. I could distinguish an automobile from a semi, from a mail truck. When I approached the stoplights, I could see them on my dashboard. And if I didn't hit the brake, the car would stop for me. Is that going to improve my lifespan? Yeah, absolutely. 90% of the automobile accidents in the world are by human error. That's right. That's going to improve my lifespan. I got to have it. So investing to me is very simple. And if your audience wants to make millions investing in the U.S. stock market, that's where you go. That's where you go. And if you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe and come to my website.
어떻게 오늘 인터뷰 영상 재미있게 시청하셨는지 모르겠습니다. 인터뷰 영상은요, 요약 정리를 부탁하시는 분들이 꽤 계셔서요. 오늘 캐리 선생님으로부터 들어본 얘기 중에 가장 기억에 남는 부분을 나름대로 정리해 봤습니다. 가장 먼저 주식 투자는 간단한 것이다. 그리고 우리 삶의 모습을 바꾸고 있는 기업에 투자하면 되는 것이다 라고 말씀을 주셨고요. 두 번째 메시지는 세상을 바꾸는 기업은 멀리 있지 않다. 그리고 테슬라에 투자하면 된다라고 요점을 짚어주셨죠. 세 번째 내용은요. 팬데믹으로 인해서 세계 지도자들의 관심은 인류의 건강 그리고 삶의 질 향상에 맞추어질 것이다. 따라서 이 부분에 우리가 투자에 초점을 맞추면 성공적인 투자의 리턴을 올릴 수 있다라는 메시지도 있었습니다. 마지막으로요. 게놈 편집 기술을 이용해서 유전적 결함을 치료하는 유전자 치료에 주목해야 한다. 그리고 기분이 좋으셨는지 주식을 하나 찝어서 리딩까지 해주셨죠. 일루미나라는 기업에 관심을 가져야 한다라는 메시지도 함께 전해주셨습니다. 오늘 방송의 마무리는요. 역시 Catch Me If You Want로 하도록 하겠습니다. 첫 번째 메시지는요. 빵 시대가 끝나지 않았음에는 저도 동의를 합니다. 그리고 4차 산업혁명의 중심에는 빵이 있을 것이다 라고 저도 개인적으로 생각을 하고 있고요. 하지만 아이폰은 노키아에서 나오지 않았다는 점에 우리가 주목을 해야 될 것 같고요. 또한 페이팔은 JP 모간, 미국의 최대 은행이죠. JP 모간이 만들지 않았다. 역시 마찬가지로 아마존도 월마트가 만들지는 않았습니다. 이러한 말씀을 드리는 이유는 뭐냐면요. 결론적으로 4차 산업혁명의 중심에는 빵 기업을 비롯한 우량 기업들이 역할이 굉장히 크겠죠. 하지만 잘 보이지 않던 의외의 기업들이 최대의 수혜 기업으로서 그리고 최고의 투자 종목으로서 각광을 받게 될 가능성도 매우 높다는 것이 저의 개인적인 생각입니다. 앞으로 미주은 채널의 기본 방향은요. 이렇게 우리가 살아가는 세상을 바꾸는 데 일조하는 혹은 큰 역할을 담당하는 그런 기업들을 하나하나 여러분들과 함께 찾아가는데 그 초점을 맞추도록 하겠습니다. 제가 오늘 준비한 내용은 여기까지입니다. 오늘 인터뷰 영상의 주인공 캐리 선생님은요. 방송 중간에 잠깐 언급된 것처럼 현재 연세가 76세이십니다. 고령의 나이에 나름대로의 확고한 투자 철학을 가지고 본인의 자산을 관리하시는 모습 참 보기 좋았고요. 저는 무엇보다도 76세의 나이에 하루에 1개 이상의 방송을 직접 업로딩 하시면서 유튜버로서 성공적이고 왕성한 활동을 하시는 그 모습에 정말 많은 감명을 받았습니다. 그리고 또 하나 저의 뇌리를 스쳐가는 생각이 있었는데요. 캐리 선생님께서는 어떻게 보면 7, 8개 주식에 집중 투자를 하고 계시고, 저 같은 경우는 테슬라, 스퀘어 이외에도 10배 이상 성장할 만한 기업을 찾아서 굉장히 광범위하게 여러 가지 주식을 찾아 헤매고 있잖아요. 따라서 조금은 다른 투자 전략을 펼치고 있다고 생각을 해볼 수 있습니다. 그러면 결론적으로 한 10년, 20년 후에 우리가 되돌아보면 둘 중에 한 사람은 수익률이 상대적으로 떨어질 수밖에 없겠죠. 그런데요, 이 결과라는 것이, 이 수익률이라는 것이 그렇게 중요하지 않을 수도 있겠다라는 생각이 오늘 들었습니다. 10년 후에 과연 누가 더 수익률이 높을까 보다는요, 그 10년 동안, 15년 동안 누가 더 열정적으로 그리고 더 멋진 삶을 영위했느냐, 이 부분이 더 중요할 수도 있겠다는 생각을 오늘 이분과의 짧은 인터뷰를 통해서 생각해보는 그런 좋은 기회였던 것 같습니다. 우리 모두가 미국 주식 투자로 은퇴하는 그날까지 다 함께 화이팅입니다. 행복한 하루 되세요. 감사합니다.